जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजधन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजधन रंजन तीरा अनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीचन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी सदानंदन ब्रजधन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजधन रंजन तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय प्रभुपदा 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 जय प्रभुपदा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिवार आचार्य अस्तोत सत श्री श्रीमद ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य बीबीटी फाउंडर आचार्य शिल प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिवार आचार्य अस्तोत सत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की नाम आचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की इस्कॉन वर्तमान गुरु वृंद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की श्री श्रीमद् भागवतम की को प्रेमानंदे all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Khadamayam Dhadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpa Turbayascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitanam Pavanbhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, titled Status Quo, Chapter 33, which is titled Activities of Kapila, text number 13. Sachapi tanoyoktena Sachapi tanoyoktena Yoga desana yoga yuk Yoga desena yoga yuk Tasmin ashrama apidye Tasmin ashrama apidye Sarasvatya samahita Sarasvatya samahita Sachapi tanol yuktana Yoga desena yoga yuk Tasmin ashrama apide Sarasvatya samahita Sachapi tanayuktena Yoga desena yoga yuk Tasmin ashrama apidye Sarasvatya samahita Sachapi tanayuktena Yoga desena yoga yuk Tasmin ashrama apide Sarasvatya Samahita. Sachapi Tanayoktena Yoga Desena Yoga Yog Tasmin Ashrama Apide Sarasvatya Samahita. Sachapi Tanayoktena Yoga Desena Yoga Yog Tasmin Ashrama Apide Sarasvatya Samahita. So we will we'll go word for word. Sa, she, cha, and api, also. Tanaya, by her son. Yuktena, spoken. Yoga adesena, by the instruction on yoga. Yoga yuk, engaged in bhakti yoga. Tasmin, in that. Ashrame, hermitage. Apide, the flower crown. Sarasvatya, of the Saraswati. Samahita, fixed in samadhi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. As instructed by her son, Devahuti also began to practice Bhakti Yoga in that very ashram. She practiced Samadhi in the house of Kadama Muni, which was so beautifully decorated with flowers that it was considered the flower crown of the river Saraswati. Purport: Devahuti did not leave her house because it is never recommended for a woman to leave her home. She is dependent. The very example of Devahuti was that when she was not married, she was under the care of her father, Swayambhuva Manu. And then Swayambhuva Manu gave her to Kardama Muni in charity. She was under the care of her husband in youth. And then her son, Kapila Muni, was born. As soon as her son grew up, her husband left home. And similarly, the son, after discharging his duty towards his mother, also left. She could also have left home, but she did not. Rather, she remained at home and began to practice Bhakti Yoga, as it was instructed by her great son, Kapila Muni. And because of her practice of Bhakti Yoga, the entire home became just like a flower crown on the river Saraswati. The text again, Sacha Pitana Yoktena Yud Yoga Desena Yoga Yog Tasmin Ashrama Apidye Sarasvatya Samahita. As instructed by her son, Devahuti also began to practice Bhakti Yoga in that very ashram. she practiced samadhi in the house of Kadama Muni, which was so beautifully decorated with flowers that it was considered the flower crown of the river Saraswati. So, we look at the one word here that I've come across is samadhi. So, I just looked up the meaning of that word, and there it is. Shall we expand that a little? Samadhi means total absorption and trance of the mind and senses in consciousness of the Supreme Godhead and service to Him. Also, the word samadhi refers to the tomb where a great soul's body is laid after his departure from this world. And that's what we see when we go to Vrindavan. We'll see Srila Prabhupada's samadhi there. And then his Pushpa samadhi is in Mayapur as well. So in this case, yes, Devahuti was in total absorption and trance of the mind and senses in consciousness of the Supreme Godhead and service to Him. So we see this is a culmination of a whole lot of activities, because there's about 6 chapters in this Srimad Bhagavatam here that is dedicated to Kapila Muni's discussion with Devahuti. So it's a lot. 6 chapters is a lot. And in the 6 chapters, Kapila Muni has given a lot in terms of Sankhya philosophy. So now this culmination, we try to understand it, that yeah, Devahuti has made this decision now to stay at home. But what is this decision? If we look at Bhagavad Gita, let's see, Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 10. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is also describing a whole lot of things. And Bhagavad Gita is a condensed form of instructions for mankind. It's a ABC for mankind. So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 10, Krishna is saying, in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices of Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yagya, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So in other words, Krishna is saying that this creation is for a purpose. And what is that purpose? For living happily and achieving liberation. And in the purport we see there, Srila Prabhupada saying, I just copied a little of the purport. The material creation of the Lord of creatures, Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. So, in other words, we all left Godhead. And now Srila Prabhupada is saying, this is an opportunity. The material creation is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. So all living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we see there words that we can highlight for ourselves, that in the material creation we are conditioned by material nature. Now when we say we are conditioned by material nature, how are we conditioned? And this is what Krishna goes on to describe in Bhagavad Gita. Further, before we get to that description, Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 11. Krishna is saying here that the demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. And I just copied a little bit of the purport here to explain that by Srila Prabhupada. The demigods are empowered administrators of material affairs. So the key word there is administrators in that sentence. The supply of air, light, water, and all other benedictions for maintaining the body and soul of every living entity is entrusted to the demigods, who are innumerable assistants in different parts of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, we read that text again. Krishna is saying the demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods. See, there has to be cooperation. And Srila Prabhupada made this statement about cooperation. Your cooperation or your love for me will be shown by how you cooperate with each other. But then we see, are we just meant to cooperate with each other? No, here we see that Krishna is saying there has to be cooperation between men and demigods. Now how do we cooperate with the demigods? And also, if we look at this creation, it's so vast. Krishna has created this material creation. There are so many universes. Jai Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki Jai, Shri Giri Govardhan ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Hari ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So we see this, the vastness of this material creation, and we know that the material creation is 1/4 of the entire creation. So it's a lesser part of the entire creation, only 1/4 of it. And in this 1/4 creation, we have so many universes. And then we are living in this one universe where there are 14 planets. And these 14 planets, right on the top is a personality called Brahma. And he is managing everything living for 311 trillion 40 billion years. And then you have 33 million demigods. Now these 33 million demigods are, as we read, they are the administrators, empowered administrators of material affairs. So in other words, they are controlling the sun, the wind, the rain, even your heart beating, your eyes blinking, everything they are controlling. And they are controlling so well, because you don't find one day that the air is slightly less. You don't find one day you got 23 hours and the next day 25 hours. There's perfect control, because they're doing it for Krishna, who is also the perfect. So now, in this entire creation, we look at, yes, the demigods are providing everything and administrating everything, but now the human beings are also meant to be involved in some cooperation between themselves and the demigods. So we see in the next slide I've got here, which is from Bhagavad Gita 4:13, Krishna says this famous verse, Chaturvarnam maya sustam guna karma vibhagasha. And I've highlighted two words there, guna and karma, which I'll come to just now. And the translation of that, according to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. Now, Krishna is saying that He's created the creation, and together with that creation there are the administrators who are the demigods. And then now He's saying that the 4 divisions of human society are also created by Him. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know me yet to be the non-doer. So what are these 4 divisions of human society? And what is he talking about? Chaturvarna Maya Swistam. We see in this slide that I've put together, with the help of my administrator. So we have Varnashrama Dharma. And what is Varnashrama Dharma? There are 4 Varnas, as you see on the left-hand side, and 4 Ashramas on the right-hand side. So these 4 Varnas are Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And the 4 Ashrams we have Sannyas, Vanaprast, Grihastha and Brahmachari. And this is what Krishna is talking about in this slide where he says Chaturvarna Maya Swistam. That these 4 divisions of human society are created by him. This is the 4 divisions, Chaturvarna Maya Swistam, Varnashrama Dharma. So now we try to understand this. But when we try to understand it, we have to know that these 4 Varnas and 4 Ashrams, they almost coincide with each other. In other words, the Brahmacharis and the Shudras are on the same, similar level technically. Or sorry, I'm saying not technically there. They're on a similar level. Then the Grihasthas and Vaishyas, the Vanaprast and Kshatriyas, Sannyasi and Brahmanas. But notice I've got highlighted there, they are determined by their quality and activity. So let's look at these 4 ashrams. You got Sannyas, Vanaprast, Grihastha and Brahmachari. And we know that they divided according to the age. You might not be able to see the slide so well there. So you have from birth up till 25 years is Brahmachari life. And then 25 to 50 is Grihastha. 50 to 75 is Vanaprast. And then Sannyas. So, and the social order, so the other thing is, I'm going to come back to this, but the most important thing I think for us to realize now at this stage is that the Brahmacharis, the Vanaprast and the Sannyasis all come from which ashram? The Grihastha ashram. So the Grihastha ashram is actually one of the most important ashrams. And this is where Devahuti is at the moment. Because we're talking about Devahuti and where she is. She is in the Grihastha ashram. And she's going through different stages in that Grihastha ashram. But just on the social order, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, this social order is within the Grihastha ashram. Srila Prabhupada makes mention of it just some places in the purport. But generally it's very difficult to find that. But he has stated that the social order is the Grihastha ashram. So, and what is the social order? There's some pictures here, which again is not very clearly seen there. You have the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas and the Shudras. And like in the previous slide, the head region, the arm region, the legs or the belly area, and then the legs, Shudras. So the Brahmanas are the ones that have certain qualities, and this is what we're seeing in the bottom here. And then I've got another slide to show you these qualities and where do they come from. They come from Bhagavad Gita. And these qualities, these social of the qualities of the social orders in Bhagavad Gita 18:42, peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge and religiousness. These are the qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Then we have heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Then in 1844 we have farming, cattle raising, and business are the qualities of work for the Vaishyas, and for the Shudras there is labor and service to others. So Krishna's given all of this. He's given us how to organize society in these 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. Then these 4 varnas and 4 ashrams, how do we see them and how do we put them in place? They are seen by their quality and activities. And the quality and activities we're seeing here in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, 42, 43 and 44. It's given. So everything is given. All we have to do now is put it into practice. So then we look at what did Srila Prabhupada come here to do. He gave us Bhagavad Gita, and then after that, given you this slide, can you read it from there? Okay, Srila Prabhupada's lamentation. A few months before his departure, Srila Prabhupada conversed with a few disciples in Vrindavan about his imminent departure. He said, I have no lamentation. He paused for a few seconds and then spoke from his heart. No, I have one lamentation. This statement prompted a devotee to inquire, because you have not finished translating the Srimad Bhagavatam? Prabhupada replied, no, I have not established Varnashrama Dharma. Some days later he said, 50% of my work is not complete because I have not established Varnashrama Dharma. So what is this Varnashrama Dharma? We've just covered that the 4 Varnas and 4 ashrams. But what did Srila Prabhupada do? Srila Prabhupada, when he arrived into this material creation, upon his birth, the astrologers predicted that Srila Prabhupada is going to open how many temples? 108 temples worldwide. This prediction was given on his birth. So these temples that Srila Prabhupada opened, we ask ourselves, what is this? Srila Prabhupada was actually trying to organize the world. Because those verses that I read earlier on, cooperation between men and demigod, and how Krishna organized this whole material creation. Srila Prabhupada came to organize us as devotees within this material creation. And that organization is Varnashrama Dharma. And Srila Prabhupada said, for this organization to thrive, there are 2 things that are required. One is intelligence, and the other is organization. And this is the organization, Varnashrama Dharma. And you'll see when great personalities come to this material creation, they don't do everything. Like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also predicted that this chanting of this holy name will get spread to every town and every village. But he didn't do it. Srila Prabhupada was sent down. And then Srila Prabhupada took it, and because he was assigned, Srila Prabhupada was assigned to come down and spread this Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So then Srila Prabhupada, he established all these temples like it was predicted. But then we look at these temples. What are these temples? These temples form the heart of society. Now a heart, can it survive on its own? No. It has to have a body. And this is the body that we're talking about. This body has to have the 4 divisions, the 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. And this is what Srila Prabhupada's lamentation is about. That he established the temples, but he did not establish varnashrama dharma. So, then, as great souls do, he came down to do 50% of the work, and the other 50% is now up to who? Up to the devotees. So we as devotees, how do we do this? So let's just try to look back and see when Srila Prabhupada was here, and then since Srila Prabhupada left, what are the changes? The changes in ISKCON demographics. You find that it's like 50, sorry, I made this slide a while ago. It's about 56 years now that ISKCON was started. So ISKCON was predominantly sannyasi and brahmachari. It was just a handful of grihastas. But now, 51 years later, or 56 years later, we see that everything has turned around completely. Now, grihastas, we have approximately 99%, more than 99% of our devotee community comprising of grihastas. And less than 1% sannyasis and brahmacharis. And if you look around us, do we see any sannyasis and brahmacharis? It's very difficult to find them. So it's becoming an extinct species, sannyasis and brahmacharis. So what do we need to do? We need to focus on that grihastha ashram. That grihastha ashram, like I said to you, the 3 other ashrams, the brahmacharis, the vanapras and sannyasis, come from the grihastha ashram. And this is what we're seeing in Devahuti's case, is that she was in a grihastha ashram. And that grihastha ashram, we see that Vedic culture requires that a woman is always protected. And Srila Prabhupada gave it in the purport that the protection for Devahuti was given initially by Kardama Muni. Initially by her father, Svayambhuva Manu, when she was young. And then when she was of a marriageable age, then she was given in charity to Kardama Muni. And then Kardama Muni stayed for a while, and then he left when his son Kapiladev was old enough to take care of the mother. And then Kapiladev now, at this stage, the verse that we read today, has left, and she was instructed by her son, and Devahuti also began to practice bhakti yoga in that very ashram. So she stayed in that home. She didn't leave and go to the forest. She stayed in that home and she continued her practice of bhakti yoga. Now, bhakti yoga, who can practice? Anyone can practice it. And this is what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, that it doesn't matter what caste or creed you are in, what varna, what ashram, it doesn't matter. You can practice it. So, you find that the practice at the moment is very difficult because we as a society, we are not cultivating the Grihastha ashram. And the cultivation of the Grihastha ashram requires that those two things, organization and intelligence. So, within the Grihastha ashram, and then we look at the three other ashrams, we have to have the Vanaprastha ashram. And the Vanaprastha ashram means retired people from the Grihastha ashram. But the Grihasthas who are retiring are not able to come and fully surrender themselves or retire completely. Because what is Vanaprastha? Grihastha requires that you get involved in 4 activities: dharma, kama, artha, moksha. In other words, religion, economic activity, sense gratification, and moksha means liberation. But what is Vanaprastha? Vanaprastha means only 2 things. It means dharma and moksha. In other words, the artha and the kama fall away. You're supposed to retire from active economic involvement and sense gratification. That's what you retire from. And at what age? Age 50. But you find that Srila Prabhupada also stated, at the age of 45, the Grihastha should be considering retiring. Because you have to plan, you have to consider, you have to contemplate, and then at the age of 50 you can retire. So, yes, at the age of 50, when the day I turned 50, I retired. That's because, again, Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do that. Then, while I'm here at the temple, I tried to contact and encourage retired devotees to come on board and to get involved. But unfortunately, the retired devotees, because of, again, historically not having this Vaishnav culture, they have a lot of challenges. So it's becoming very difficult. Then we look at ISKCON, what's happening? We're not growing exponentially as we're supposed to. So where do we change things? We need the Grihastha ashram to come together and start organizing ourselves. And then when we look at Devahuti, when it's said here, she practiced samadhi in the house of Kadama Muni, which was so beautifully decorated with flowers that it was considered the flower crown of the river Saraswati. So, retirement can be very glorious, but we have to plan for it. You find the material world is designed like that. There is retirement, there is pension, and materially people are well off in terms of they got their houses,